Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
And I'm Alycia Wood.
Hey, Alicia's here.
The reason why we're laughing is that Alycia asked a question and then Dan just at the same time pushed the on button, so we couldn't answer it.
Okay, it's fine. We'll just leave it up to a surprise. Why not?
Yeah, we'll be on for the next 3 hours, Alycia. No worries. No worries.
No worries at all. I got plenty of time.
Yeah.
It's Football Talk with Alycia Wood. If you'd like to call Shamso 404-995-7300. She will answer all your football and hockey questions.
Yes.
And she's all bundled up there. I guess she thinks it's winter, Dan.
It kind of felt like it outside this morning. It's a little cool outside.
Alycia, of course, a part of RZIM. We love talking to her. I don't know if I've ever read her bio before, Dan, but let me throw some stuff out here. Okay.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Do we have 3 hours? Because it's pretty long.
Is it a long? All right. Let's hear it.
Where shall I begin? Okay. She's got a criminal justice degree. I'm not going to mention the universities pretty much because she pretty much rocks the CASBA and the university department. Criminal justice degree. Did we know that?
No, I didn't do it, Alycia. So whatever it is.
You didn't know I've been watching you all this time. The body language, the things you say. Oh, you guys are in some serious trouble, Rick. If you only knew what I got on
you. He's got the Unabomber look, doesn't he, with the beard? Yeah.
Hey, stand in line, Alycia. She's got a master's in social justice, Oxford Center for, now I did know this, Oxford Center for Christian Apologetics there in Oxford. Speaking background, MIT, UConn, Harvard, Dartmouth, Brown University. And it's interesting because now we know her heart, but listen to this. So if I had those on my business card, I would have a business card with all that on there. To impress
it would be a big business card.
Yeah, but this is what's bigger than all that. Okay.
Yeah.
She's also volunteered at soup kitchens and orphanages in Haiti, Honduras, and the DR. Her passion is sharing Christ and showing Christ beyond her local environment. And,
wow.
I don't know if I ever read that before, but just that, my respect for you just went through the roof. It was already pretty high. It was already knocking on the ceiling. But thank you so much for just your passion and your heart. We appreciate what you do. Of course, you're a part of RZIM, and you're an apologist and a darn good one, I should say. And we were talking about her sports. She is it says music, hockey, and football. Okay, so what music are you listening to right now? What's hip for you?
Well, so I actually play music. So I listen to music, of course, but I actually play. So I play violin and piano. And so I actually am in, believe it or not, this is actually Christmas season for orchestras. I play in the orchestra at my church and just at other places too. And so this is kind of the season of recording for Christmas music to get everything ready for Christmas. So we are like dead in like playing Christmas carols and all of that stuff. And it just turned October 1st. And piano as well. I love piano. And so those are actually, I do more of that playing than I listen actually a lot, but.
Now in your book, is it too early for Christmas music or are you enjoying playing it right now?
So, you know what? I actually don't mind it. You know, I think for me, and I know some people hate this idea, but as soon as November 1st hits, it's Christmas season. Like I do kind of bypass the Thanksgiving thing. But no, it's fine. So I love it. I love the songs and it's just fun to play them. And since you only really play them once a year, it's not like you really get worn out necessarily for me.
Right.
Because I'm not playing them all year long. Oh, we're doing the song again. It's like we haven't done it in a year. So there's a bit of a gap.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, if you're able to get on before Christmas on the show again, we'd love for you to play violin or piano. You could play Christmas Shoes for Dan. He loves it.
Yeah.
That's his favorite song. It moves him deeply.
It blesses my soul for sure.
Yeah. Yes. You'll watch the listenership go from here to just tank very quickly.
Now I want to go back real quick to the criminal justice.
Yeah.
What happened with that? Was that just a really it's something that was interesting to you when you started out in school?
Yeah, so I actually had originally wanted to go into urban youth ministries, and then that didn't kind of work out. And then I really wanted to be a math major, and that didn't really work out. So then So then I just stumbled on criminal justice. I took a bunch of classes and things that I enjoyed, and they all had the same criminal justice classes. And so I just loved it. I never really wanted to go into it. I did a lot of prison ministry in college and some even thereafter. But I just always just found it interesting. And I think when you look at the fact that here I am as a Christian apologist, I mean, basically I do the investigation world of Christianity.
Yeah.
Kind of see that whole kind of thread kind of follow through. So people would always ask me like, what is the criminal justice? Like, how does that play into what you're doing now? And I would tell people, well, I kind of tend to use crime scenes when telling the gospel because I think it's so much of crime and criminal, but also just the investigative approach. You walk into a house, you see this is disheveled. You haven't heard from your friend who lives there in a while. The door was unlocked. You have all of these clues. And while you can't say that this certain thing happened, all the clues seem to be pointing in that direction.
Yeah.
So you've got all these kind of the same kind of investigative approach to Christianity. And so it's really kind of been the same thing, just switching topics and taking that kind of investigative approach. But I think also in lieu of everything that's been going on this year with a lot of the racial tensions and the different police things, it's like almost all of a sudden I found myself back into my police courses and into my criminal law courses and thinking through all that. And so it's actually really helped me as I kind of weave and navigate through a lot of what's happening, because not everybody has a criminal justice background, right? So I've studied policing, I've studied crime, I've studied prisons, I've studied the law. Like, so there's I have an advantage over just the average person because most people haven't studied these things. And so that gives me some perspective, broader perspective on a lot of things that happen.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing now? You've obviously put 2 and 2 together for, starting off there and where you are now. But this is something that's been in God's heart from, before you were born. So, here you are doing criminal justice, and he's like, he, watch this.
Is that what God sounds like when he's he?
That's exactly what he sounds like. And if you read in the King James, it's heeth. So, which is a whole nother issue. I find that fascinating in looking at God. I mean, he's so amazing, right? I was reading this Psalm this morning, and it says, how great you are. The word means vast. I mean, it's just beyond what we can even think. Our minds would explode. But here he had your roadmap, and you willingly, and maybe a little unwillingly, but you tended to go down that road, and bam, you're in the perfect place. How God is that? How cool is that?
It blows my mind. It really does, because I'm like, all these years, I'm like, I don't know, how that criminal justice kind of mind is going to connect and stuff like that. And then even my master's in social justice, which at the time I got my master's, there was only 2 colleges in the nation that even offered it, social justice masters. Now all of a sudden it's like the latest fad. I just can't even believe that. Like, how did it, I went into it because I really wanted to work in the developing world. I wanted to work in healthcare and poverty and human trafficking and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then now to see it, it's like all of a sudden it's like the platform for so many things. And actually a lot of people hate social justice. And I'm like, oh man, like it's turned into this big thing. So it's like, you don't see those things at all. I mean, I graduated my master's over 10 years ago. So you definitely don't see how the Lord's going to weave these things together. But yet you're like, okay, wow, that came out of nowhere, that now all of a sudden, all of this history has all of a sudden come together and is relevant for today.
Alycia Wood, what's going on at RZIM nowadays? You got anything big coming up that you're getting ready for? What's going on?
Oh man, I always fail RZIM and you on this point. So we actually have something called our Global Apologetics Conference, which is coming up. Can't tell you the date because once again, I fail you on this. But it's going to be our very first one. We're actually going to pull from our global team. And so it's going to be, I think it's 15 speakers globally.
Wow.
And we've never done a conference where it's like just us as a global team. So that'll be really great. So that's coming up. So if you go to rzim.org, you can see that and register for that. But otherwise, I mean, RZIM, it's so interesting. Just like RZIM, just like the rest of the world has adapted, right? We're doing Zooms and, events that we would have ordinarily done, like at universities and conferences. And like people aren't holding major conferences, right? They're not getting hundreds of people together. Universities aren't really meeting. So we're not necessarily doing those, but other people who wouldn't have ordinarily done events are doing events because they can do them on Zoom.
Yeah.
Right. And so all of a sudden we have all of these other things coming up too. So we kind of have a combination of things that we would have done, but also new opportunities that we wouldn't have necessarily done before. So we've been busy dealing with all of these just things that are happening right now in the culture and in the world, and connecting Christianity with it all, and just expanding even our audience reach.
Alycia, how has the whole pandemic, the economy challenge, the issues with race that we're all living through, all this stuff? It just seems like we've got, believe it or not, we have an election coming up. I don't want to surprise you. I don't want to alarm you at all,
or ruin our day, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And just when you thought that was it, there's there's more. Has this enhanced the way that you do apologetics now this year, or is it pretty much the same? Not that the same is bad, but has it enhanced it at all? What has it done for your message?
Yeah, when I would think of apologetics as a teenager, not that I necessarily knew what apologetics was in terms of a word, but when I think of just this field of engaging people, you think of evidence for Christianity, you think of evidence for the Bible, you think of evidence for the resurrection, you think of some of these commonplace things. Well, what I see now is Christianity in a culture that is I see a culture that is so completely and utterly confused.
Mm-hmm.
And is so much more distance from Christianity. I think if you went back 60 years, you would see Christianity here and culture here, and there was this divide that was this big. But now you see Christianity here and culture here.
Mm-hmm.
And to even have somebody even, be willing to even hear Christianity, it's like this massive chasm is right here. And so I think, all of these events that have happened, obviously whatever happens in the culture affects us, because we have Q&A, and people want to know, where does Christianity stand on this? What does the Bible have to say? What does God have to say? How can we get wisdom, because they're so confused, or whatever the situation may be. And so I think in many ways, we are continuously, as apologists, trying to continuously connect the gospel with the culture, and the gospel always maintains its relevancy. Yeah. So here's just a quick example. Black Lives Matter, a huge deal, right? We've got people all over the world participating in Black Lives Matter. One of the questions one of my colleagues posed to me recently, which I thought was really good, is, who told Black Lives Matter that Black Lives Matter? In other words, how do they know that? As a Christian, because we believe what it tells us in Acts 17, right? From one man, God made every nation of man, they should inhabit the whole earth. We know that we are all of one blood. We know that we do know that every life that God has created is important, whether they are out here in the womb, etc. We have all this value of human life in Christianity, but Black Lives Matter doesn't accept Christianity. They have a Marxist, atheistic kind of view. Where do they get that from? And so Christianity is significant even in that. If you want to say Black Lives Matter, then you at least need to start with the Judeo-Christian idea of human value. And that's where you have that idea of Black Lives Matter. So Christians, we can absolutely say Black lives are important because of our Christian beliefs. If you don't have our Christian beliefs, then my question to you is, who told you they matter?
Right.
Because without Christianity, we're just stardust. We're just DNA machines, And so the gospel is constantly being relevant, and it's constantly significant to the things that are happening in our culture right now. And it's just us constantly trying to find ways to rework it and rethink it, and let people know that this book that was written 1,000 years ago, this God from eternity past, is still speaking to us today.
Wow. That question was brilliant. So simple.
Yeah.
But yet so brilliant. And as people unwrap that in their minds, they're going, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good stuff. Just like when you ask, if you say something is true, well, where does truth come from?
Yes.
I mean, it's just like that. Yeah. Wow. Good stuff. Love talking to folks from RZIM. RZIM.org is where you can go to get more information.
We got to take a break here in a second, Alycia. We'd love to get back with you for Christmas. Real quick, how's everybody doing? I guess the aftermath, if you will, of Ravi's passing. We're still crushed, but you guys right there, how you doing?
Yeah, it has been a wild, 4 months. I mean, you think about Ravi's memorial service happened, and then later on that day was when the rioting in Atlanta happened, and we spun off into all these other things. It's like, and we're still kind of on lockdown with COVID, so we're not really even together as a group. I mean, there's just been so many things that have happened over the last 4 months that I think it's like the processing has been so different. It's been so unique because it's not like we're even together, but I think we're just, you go day by day and, you mourn and you grieve and you carry on his vision, his passion. It would be devastating to Ravi if the ministry died with him.
Yes.
That would be devastating to him. That's not what he wanted. That's not what he worked for. And so in continuing doing what he was doing and continuing to do evangelism and continuing to do apologetics, it is honoring to him on a regular basis. Like, this is what he wanted. It wanted to be bigger than him. And so I think that is what we are continuing to have our focus on, that, continuing to push forward on that, and making sure that, as the culture continues to say, this thing is ugly, I don't want it, we can continue to say, actually, it's the most beautiful thing that you actually need. And continuing to bridge that divide and help make Jesus significant and relevant to our culture today.
That is so good. Alycia Wood, we got to take a break. Let's catch up before Christmas. And I was hoping when I asked you the music question that you were going to say on your phone or your iPod or your iPad that you're listening to the Sean Hart rap album.
There it is. I was waiting for the Sean Hart moment. I'm like, we have not talked about Sean Hart yet. This is not a real radio without Sean Hart.
Well, hopefully everybody will give him some love for Christmas. Order that CD now, 404-955-73.
Does he have a Christmas rap CD? That's what he needs to do.
No, but I will tell him that Rick and Dan told him he needs to get that rap CD going. So we'll see.
We're looking forward to it.
Your expectation.
She's amazing, Alycia Wood, RZIM.org. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.